So before we continue with customizing the backend, we're gonna go and have a little bit of a mention of asynchronous programming. So as we've seen before, we use this keyword called async and this keyword called await. Now, what happens is that we're dealing with something called promises. And a promise is something that's very much like in the English language. You'll promise something and then you'll have to do it at a later time. So in this case, we're saying, hey, I promise you, programmer, that I'm gonna go and get the stuff that's on this API, right, in this database, and I'll get it to you, but you're not gonna know how long it takes me. It could take me a second, it could take me a millisecond, it could take me an hour. I have no idea, right? So the way we deal with it is by using asynchronous programming. So let's try and make something here. So let's say that I want to have, well, first of all, of course, we need to deploy the stuff, right? So what we did here is we are fetching from the API, and also we opened the course. You haven't seen this, but in the middleware.js, I introduced something called scores, which is under the security, which says, hey, I can actually query the API from anywhere, right? It's not a big deal, but you need to know it's there. Now, let's create a function here. Like we're just gonna call, be called a const awaitable function, and this is gonna be equal to we're just gonna make it wait, right? We're just gonna make it wait and return a number. So I'm just gonna say it's gonna be so await. So this is an asynchronous function, first of all, right? Await the return on a new promise. I just wanna like wait, hold on. This is gonna wait for a second, right? Yeah, there you go. So resolve timeout. There you go. That's how you do it. So we say, okay, await a new promise, and this is gonna resolve, and in a timeout of 1 second, right? Let's give it 2 seconds so that it's more evident. This is 2,000 milliseconds. You just call resolve, right? And then we return 25. Fantastic. Now, what happens if I create a new method here, which is my main, right? So const main is equal to this method, right? And it just says, so let n equals awaitable function, and then console log n, right? What happens if I call main here? So what I'm doing is I'm creating this function and I'm creating this other function called main, and main inside of it has a call which says, hey, n is going to be equal to whatever is returned here, and what is returned here is 25, right? And then I just log it. So when I call main, what do you think I'm going to see? 25 or something else? Obviously, I'm being facetious. It is going to be something else. But what is exactly going to be? We'll see it in a second, right? So let's clear this and go and run node here. And what we see is that we have a pending promise, right? So what we're logging here is whatever is returned here. But before 25 is returned, this promise is pending. For 2 seconds, nothing is happening. We're just waiting. We're just fetching something from a database. We're just asking an API what the weather is, right? Whatever we're doing, we're pending this promise. So in order for this to be actually effective, we need to wait for that promise to be completed. And how do we do this? Well, by using await. So we say await the return of whatever it's here, and say, hey, that's an error. Await expressions are only allowed within async functions, which means we just have to type async. Now that we have async await, if we go here and type node dot again, 2-second pass, and then we have 25. There you go. That's a little excerpt on asynchronous programming. I hope you enjoyed it. There's not much more than this. We can await multiple things at the same time to parallelize a process, but I'm not going to go into that. You find out yourself if you're really that curious. I've had to use that thing that's parallelizing awaitable functions, asynchronous functions, I think like 3 or 4 times in my career. It's not that common, so you'll see, right? In any case, this is done, and the next step is going to be for us to create our custom route to get our tasks, and then we're just going to start interacting with the API from the terminal, from command line, well, basically from Thunder Client, so that we can register a new user. We can then log in as that user, and then we can create a task, and then we can retrieve our tasks. So I hope you're excited about it. I mean, I'm not excited, but I'll do it. I'll see you then for the next episode.